So I have the weirdest and coolest hobby. 3 years ago, my husband Chad and I planted a butterfly garden to help the endangered monarch butterfly along her migration highway through St. Louis. This mama monarch, she laid her eggs right in front of us. And suddenly, I'm an accidental butterfly farmer. You remember that book, The Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar? Well, that's totally true. When a monarch caterpillar is fully grown, it eats milkweed leaves the size of my hand, times 2, almost every hour. And they eat all day long. In just 2 weeks, they grow 2,000 times their size. If a human baby ate as much and as fast, it would weigh the size of a bus or 2. It's then that the caterpillar has to find a safe place to pupate. So for us non-entomologist folks, this is where the caterpillar does the hard work of going into the chrysalis, which they've had inside them the whole time. It's here the caterpillar surrenders into liquefied cells, a literal butterfly soup. Surrendering to the process and doing the work is the only way that 2 weeks later, it emerges a butterfly. Surrender and do the work. What's the magic word? And. You see, none of us get out of this life unscathed. We will all have our traumas, losses, and tragedies. The things we've screwed up ourselves, the hurts, the terrible things that have happened to us, and the what should have beens. I spent the first 13 years of my mental health career helping people to survive through these hard, dark places, helping them to get over it. It wasn't until I was in my own fetal position in the deepest, darkest hole of my life that I realized this whole just get over it just doesn't work. Chin up, dust yourself off, move on, never ever give up. Aren't you over it yet? So many of us have some version of these quips as our narratives that the hard stuff defines our whole story instead of being a brutal and beautiful piece of it. You see, I grew up a dancer, and then I wasn't, because at 12 years old, in debilitating pain, I was misdiagnosed not once, not twice, but 3 times, until finally a year-old x-ray showed a severely broken back. I had serious surgery and spent the first 6 months of my freshman year of high school in a body cast. And imagine what it's like to be a 14-year-old girl constantly being asked, how do you go to the bathroom? Not easy to do or answer. And then 3 years later, my senior year, it turns out I was in the 10% that surgery wasn't successful. So we had to repeat the whole thing all over again, including 6 more months in a body brace. So I was literally braced for my senior homecoming dance. But chin up, Justine. You got this. Smooth sailing from here. Because of my surgeries, 20 years later, my husband and I ready to have a family, and we can't. Unwilling to accept life without our own children, we tried gestational surrogacy. Lots of synthetic hormones, countless doctors, nurses, sterile rooms, and petri dishes later, we had lost 3 babies. What we planned didn't work. So when we made the almost impossible decision to stop treatments, we had to learn to accept a life we didn't choose, a life without children, before the pursuit of them destroyed everything good about us. A decision between 2 really crappy choices. And before you say, why don't you just adopt? Or just try another round? Or don't ever, ever, ever give up. You gotta know, we have empty accounts, both financial and emotional. I was stuck in my sadness while I was trying to get over it all. I mastered numbing the pain through supposed coping skills, staying busy and filling my life up with other things just to be able to breathe another day. And then it got darker. We spent tens of thousands of dollars. Our surrogate and I both shot ourselves up with lots of hormones, and we had a whole team of doctors to get her pregnant. Little did we know it would not be with our child. Just months after our journey ended, with the help of a $12 bottle of wine and a little Marvin Gaye, she got pregnant with their third child, totally unplanned. And he's the best kid. To this day, we are each other's chosen families. Even still, the dark pit of grief swallowed me whole. My life hadn't turned out the way it was supposed to. I was sad. I mean, is there room to feel anything else? Can a life you didn't choose be joyous and exist with lifelong grief? Can you ever live happy when you feel so burdened by sadness? What we're taught as early as elementary school is to pick one. How are you feeling? Are you happy, sad, angry, or hungry? Or perhaps in college you were taught this. Unless you were in my general psychology class, blessed and, perhaps cursed with a practicing therapist as your instructor, you were given this. Now, today, we have this approach. What if I told you you could feel more than one? What if I told you allowing yourself to feel more than one emotion, even at the same time, is how we thrive? This is the permission of the and, which began a huge faith wrestle for me. So I started searching to see if anyone else knew what I was talking about and could help me to find more words to wrap around it. So I looked to the Bible for some help, where it says, before Jesus' death, he says, "Take this cup, your will, not mine." Jesus basically says, I don't want to do this, and I trust you. He says the and. The therapist in me wondered, what was he thinking? How was he feeling? How could he possibly feel both surrender and choice? That thinking and curiosity questioned, how long does it take to accept and change? Years? Months? Or perhaps in the breath of a single moment of surrender and choice? Did it take me 20 years to change my life, or was it in the surrender to the permission of the and? I don't like this. I don't want this. This isn't fair. And I will trust it, and I will choose to do the work to let it be a gift. I am a forever grieving mother and a woman full of joy who does the work to see the gifts in everything. I am sad and happy. I feel anger and trust. I am the dark and the light, everything at the same time. This is what it means to practice active acceptance. Accepting the things we cannot change and choosing to do the work of what is in our control. Years out of my infertility journey, I wonder every day who my 3 babies would be today as 5-year-olds. And every day, I do the work to create and receive the gifts that have only come from the loss of my 3. It has only been in the surrender and work of the permission of the and that I have become the person I was never able to see in those traumas, and the one who is only because of those traumas. There will always be dark in the light, and often our light only comes of the dark. I gave myself permission for the and. I discovered I didn't have to get over it all. I had to give myself permission to change my relationship with my pain. It was only after teaching this work to client after client that I began realizing the power that is in getting to this very messy and uncomfortable place. That when we give ourselves permission to walk into the muck and the mess, It is there that we will see our clarity, and then we can heal. We must allow both the hard stuff and the person we can create after, surrendering to the process and choosing to do the work to grow, like the butterfly. Once the monarch comes out of her chrysalis, her work is not done. When she emerges, she must not only knit together her proboscis, which is how butterflies eat, she must also pump up her wings and patiently wait until they are strong enough to fly. Surrender and do the work. I will warn you, this awakened life is hard work and super uncomfortable. What I have found is that when we give ourselves permission to feel it all, even all of it at the same time, we actually won't want to numb it. So we can't drink, shop, busy, or binge watch our way through this work. Trust me, I tried. Chin up, dust yourself off, move on, never ever give up. Aren't you just over it yet? In those simplistic ways of coping, the hard parts of our stories are denied and invalidated, in which case they so easily become all of our story. Walking into the permission of the and, allowing ourselves to feel it all, especially in the surrender and in choosing to do the work, we can heal and awaken. Butterfly farmer. Such a weird and cool hobby, all to help me heal from my trauma and loss journey. I never could have imagined how much the monarchs would actually rescue me. When we walk into the permission of the and, we surrender, become butterfly soup, choose to do the work, and fly. Thank you.